Hi, this is Chronicles, and I'm your host, Simon Russian. Today we have a lovely lady who's also a podcaster. And I won't pronounce her name, so I'm scared I might get it wrong.
I'll have a go. So, my name's Roisin. My name's Roisin. I'm full name is Roisin Denson. And I sometimes host and produce for
Okay. So what made you want to do that podcast, and why that niche?
I guess, so I've been working as a health journalist since 2013. So I'm kind of very much in that niche anyway, and it was something that my company started to want to do, and I've always been really interested in, I love audio as a format, love podcasts, love like standard radio as well, and I was kind of looking, it's just such an exciting medium, so I was really I got asked if I wanted to host it, and I kind of jumped to the opportunity, and now I've had a step up at work, so I'm doing less of the interviewing and kind of more of the fixing and the editing and the nuts and bolts that goes into it. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Okay, so your podcast is quite a big beast from what you're saying, from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it is. It's great. So we work with a studio. We started recording it in November, and we kind of went into this lovely studio in Soho, and then obviously COVID happened, and then so we were in a studio with a sound engineer, and it was all very professional, and then suddenly we were having to do it from home. Like, we still have
over Zoom.
Sound, yeah. And we still have a sound engineer that helps and makes all the levels sound good and makes it sound professional. But it's been way less fun. I love interviewing people in person, kind of like we're doing now.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing it over Zoom, it's not quite the same, and often what we would do is would kind of get two guests on, so it'd be more of a conversation. It's really hard to like repeat that chemistry when you're all on like a video call. But we've made it work. Not stopped, not had a break in production, not stopped putting episodes out.
So how often do you guys put out an episode?
Weekly. Yeah.
Oh, so your episodes must be like half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yes, exactly. So
that's kind of a full-on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they are. It kind of depends how good the chat is. Sometimes they're like, we always aim for about half an hour, but sometimes some of the celebrity ones, they run on generally sometimes like 45 minutes.
Is it just, when you say health, is it fitness as well as nutrition?
Yeah.
So it's just roundabout.
So it's like, it's the full spectrum of it. So it's kind of the premise of it is called Going for Goal, and the premise of it is that we help people in like the women's health community. There's hundreds of thousands on Instagram and who read our magazine and on Facebook, etc. And the premise is that we help them achieve like the goals that they want to, and it goes across all the different content pillars that we have in the magazine. So that is health, so kind of core health, fitness, nutrition, like mindset, and like success. And what else?
Is that success in your personal life, or just success at work, or everything?
Work, personal life, the kind of stuff that people really want to get good at. So for example, like how to make the most out of your mornings, how to be more productive, like how to like argue better, like all this kind of stuff. So it's really
is that argue for work or argue at the husband?
I think that's more like, we were thinking more of like a with your partner at home, but also at work, how to kind of, so it's like a real broad spectrum of like personal development, basically.
No, I'm interested on that arguing one, because are you teaching the ladies? I take it's all ladies, yeah?
Yeah, so majority women, and mostly in kind of 30s, but we've got some people in their 20s and some people in their 40s. But...
Okay, so you've really tightened down your niche.
Yeah.
Because they say an ideal niche is within a 5-year span.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's pretty, and I guess as the audience is growing, we're learning more about
them and the latest
and what
issues.
They like.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
So there's you're getting loads of comments questions.
Yeah, we've had like quite a lot of comments and questions. Had some nice feedback, some not so nice feedback, but that's always the way, isn't it?
They go on.
95% very positive, so that's good.
They say if you are 100% positive, you're a people pleaser, which is not good. If you're 100% negative, you're a jerk, which is not good.
Yeah.
So you want to be 50-50. You want to be a mixed bag.
Totally.
Yeah, because obviously it's also invoking fault as well. Why people would say such and such a thing, and what other angles you can approach things and things like that. Yeah.
Criticism is good because then it makes you. And sometimes I think the criticisms that, and this is just a podcast, I've always found this with work, that sometimes the criticism that really stings, like not in the delivery, it's not a case of someone being horrible, but if sometimes you get a piece of feedback and it makes you feel really uncomfortable, that's often the one that they've often touched on something that you need to improve on, or deep down you know that isn't good enough.
Jordan Peterson, he's a clinical psychiatrist on YouTube, and he says you should always listen to your enemy because your enemy will find every fault in you.
Interesting. Yeah.
So don't dismiss them.
Yeah.
Because they're usually looking for a legit source of why they don't like you or why you're not as good as you could be, and that's the people you pay attention to.
Yeah. Almost like that blistering, very harsh character assessment that they will have done on you. There's probably some insights in there.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
Which is hard. But back to the arguing. What are you teaching the ladies to be less emotional?
Well, no. So this is an idea that's just kind of in. We haven't actually done this one yet, and I think it's not less emotional. I think there's real like power in bringing your emotions to making your point. But I guess it's understanding.
But
what are we trying to do? I guess it's understanding and making your point, and also not letting your point get buried. I think sometimes that's something that some women struggle with. Not all women. Some women are brilliant at arguing.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah.
But I think sometimes people struggle to get their point across, and then also know when to pick your battles, the elements on things to push on, and how to get that across. How to and also how to stand by your boundaries if you are more prone towards people pleasing. Then it's quite hard to advocate for exactly what you want in an argument. So we haven't done that episode yet, but I don't know who we'd have to. We'd probably have a behavioural psychologist, and who else would be good? And maybe like a therapist on that one, so then one could speak to.
You could get Jordan Peterson. He's a
Jordan Peterson.
You know him?
He's an interesting character. So
he's a clinical psychiatrist.
Yeah. So I haven't read his book. I really need to.
12 Rules for Life.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I haven't read it. I know it because I follow him religiously in what he says, because obviously he teaches at Harvard.
Yeah.
And he talks about just improving for people as persons in general. Okay, a lot of guys follow him because he resonates to what guys have to say, what guys need to hear, and like checking yourself, which I think is really positive. I was going back to what you're saying about the having a not argument but discussion. I kind of look at it like you said it about the emotions, and it's good to have emotions, but it depends. I would say it depends on who you're debating with.
Yeah.
Because if you're debating with a male, we deal with more facts.
Yeah.
So if you're throwing emotions in, we're not really registering with that. So if you want to win, and you just, or not even say win or get your point across, if you can relate to the way the other person sees things, and just on the facts, then they say, yeah, that actually makes sense. Oh, I'm sorry, love. Do you see what I mean? Rather than if you say, well, you make me feel. Yeah. It's not really about your feelings.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
It's hard. Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? And I know that obviously there's such variation between how
genders.
Some men will bring in emotion and how some women will. But yeah, Jordan Peterson's really interesting. I read his book, and I think because some of his views, so he used to be much more conservative than me, and some of his views, some of the things he said about women I don't really like.
I could gather that. I could gather that.
But that doesn't mean, I think he's a really good example of just because someone doesn't agree with you on everything, it doesn't mean there's nothing you can learn from them. And the fact that he's become so popular with so many different types of men, I think is really interesting.
There's something in that.
Yeah, there is. I think there is something in the. It's almost some of his arguments are quite stoic, like they're quite. They're kind of the tough love side of things.
Yeah, but they're all based on facts because he deals with statistics because of what he does in his lectures.
The only thing I'd say back to that is from working. So for what I do within my work, so when I was writing and now I'm editing, like it's all very. You can basically find statistics and you can find studies to kind of almost back up whatever you want if you're clever. And I think he's obviously an incredibly smart man, and I'm not saying that what he is saying is without merit, but I think there is someone who could probably make the opposite arguments to him.
We've yet to find that person.
Be able to back them up.
Because and this is where I say in about debating, a lot of the debates I've seen, let's say even feminist movements have with him, their angle is about how they feel. It's not been about the facts.
Yeah.
So for the way I think is, well, your feelings doesn't matter. It's the facts that matter. And that's what I'm paying attention to. And that's why I'd support what this guy is saying because I don't know the statistics.
Yeah.
I only know what you not you, but the lady as a feminist would tell me, or what him as a clinical psychiatrist would tell me. So if one person's just saying, well, this doesn't feel right, or that doesn't sound right, or blah, 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 you're just like, that doesn't really hold water, in that respect. But I love his thing where he says, and I try and take this on board, it's hard at times, we listen to somebody as if they know something that you don't know.
That's very good advice.
That's very, but it's hard if somebody's coming at you in a way that you're not used to. Like, for me, I don't really do like a full-on emotion thing. So when someone's, let's say the missus is talking to me and like, this thing, that's blurring the point. Do you see what I mean? In that respect of things.
Yeah, I think there's something I think that's a really, really good phrase, because also that's so it's so obviously true that people's life experience, like everyone probably does have something to teach you, or you can learn something, and even if you maybe don't agree with them on everything, or maybe you don't even like them, and you don't really get on with them, there will still be something that you can
admire or learn from them. Because this is what I say about Trump. Many people don't like Trump, but I say if you look at him, he's got an ability to push on no matter what, no matter how much problems he's getting from the press, whether he's calls it himself or not. That's a skill. That's ability. That's some focus that I would love to have. That no matter what, you can just see your goal and not let other people, because at least 60-70% of the country, his country, is against him.
Yes.
But he's still pushing on.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? And that's a quality. That's a quality. But people get upset with me when I say this.
No, but I think that's very perceptive. And I think as well, you can caveat stuff and say, because I'm not a Trump fan at all, as you can probably guess. And his style of, I think there's many things that are very dangerous about his kind of style of leadership and how he kind of sows division and all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All the stuff that everyone will say, and it's not new. But I can see your point in that and it's something that probably makes him so successful in that he just doesn't care. But again, I don't know how, and in terms of a strategy for getting what you want and staying completely focused, that, as you say, there might be something to be admired from that. I've never thought about it like that.
I have a military background, so you have to learn to respect your enemy. So, for instance, when we're in Afghan, the Taliban, for instance, they are in pajamas, running around, maybe with trainers on, sandals. They have no air superiority, but they're still winning. You've got to respect that. And they're fighting 47 different countries. Now, regardless of their cause, whether you want to believe it's right or wrong, to me, that's not what I would debate. My point is, these people are dedicated and they're effective. And the most dangerous weapons they have is either RPG or a homemade bomb, an IED. Do you see what I mean? And they're taking on 47 nations. And everybody's gone home from the party and they're still left standing. So you got to think, do you see what I mean?
Was that something that you were taught by?
No, it's something I noticed.
Something that you noticed?
No, it's not what I teach, not what they teach you in the military. They tell you don't take, they say at the end of the day, these people have been fighting since the Second World War and beyond. So they're a nation of fighters, yes. But when you look at things, and you can look at things as clear, and put everything, all your how you feel aside, you've got to say, yeah, I've got to hand it to these people. They're not playing around.
That's interesting. I guess it's that word respect, isn't it? I think so often we kind of confuse the word respect with the word agree or the word like, or because that's interesting for you. Then that must have affected the way that. I've got no experience with the military. I don't really know anyone who has, but that must have really impacted the way that you, or did that impact the way that your fighting style or your approach?
Yeah, you can't underestimate these people. Don't think just because they're just
they don't look as professional.
Yeah, they don't. What have you? But you look at everything that they do and why it's an advantage. If you see what I mean, in that respect.
I guess being in a war situation really forces you to see. It's the most extreme situation, isn't it? To think of your enemy, and probably forces you to have some real. If you're open enough to it,
but you take
intellectually, you haven't. It's probably enables you to really see. To really see those things and get those understandings.
You take those skills and you apply it to other areas in life.
Yeah. So now you can debate people very effectively in taxi.
But anyway, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Do you want to pump your podcast again?
Yes. So I host and I produce and sometimes host the Women's Health Podcast, Going for Gold. You should all go listen to it.
Okay.
If you're into self-improvement and health.
Okay. To the listeners out there, I hope you like this episode. It is unusual me interviewing a podcaster, but you never know who you're going to meet on these rides. Do not forget to listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, and have a nice day.